To the school board meeting in the Carson City School District. But before we begin, let me get some things out of the way. It's now 7 o'clock. It's Tuesday, May 8th, 2018. We're in the CR room of the Community Center in Carson City. And it is the time, date, and place for the school board meeting of the Carson City School District. We'll begin with agenda item number 1. That's a flag salute. And Stacy, would you lead us in the flag salute?
Yes, will you please join me? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we will go on to agenda item number 2. That's the adoption of the agenda as submitted.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Before we go on to the superintendent's report, let me just take some time to let everyone know this is Teacher Appreciation Week. And, you know, I think oftentimes we don't do enough to say thank you for the hard work way beyond scheduled hours of what our teachers do for us. And, you know, just in recognition, I'm going to ask the board if we could, I know it's, not everyone is here, but could we stand in recognition and acknowledgement of our teachers? Okay. Okay, thank you. Now, Mr. Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Very nice gesture there. Appreciate that vote of support and confidence for our staff members. We have a number of folks with us this evening and grateful to have them here. We're hoping to recognize these students formally in front of the board. I'd like to introduce Ann Britt. She is our leadership sponsor at Carson High School, and she'll introduce some of our students. Thank you.
Thank you for having me here tonight. So I'm here to introduce my prom king and queen and my friendship ball king and queen. Unfortunately, my friendship ball king and queen could not be here tonight. Georgia Farrell and Caesar Ruiz. I know, I was hoping Georgia could make it, but it was amazing. It was an amazing night. The friendship ball is growing. This year we had, I would say, about 200 people show up, which was great. And so every year it's growing and more kids are coming, and it's just a great, great opportunity for those kids. I'd like to introduce my prom queen, Mackenzie McDaniel. She's going to talk to you just real briefly about what her plans are when she graduates high school.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today. After high school, I plan to go directly to UNLV to major in both architecture and civil engineering. I am going directly into the master's program for architecture, and I hope to carry on through that and then immediately jump into the career field. So, thank you.
And can you bring it back just for a minute? Just bring it back.
Not such luck.
Okay, let me ask you a question now. So you're the prom queen. What was that experience like? I mean, what?
I mean, it was what it was. I'm very grateful for it, but I'm not going to brag about it. I mean, I'm very grateful for being prom queen, and I'm grateful for my friends and my family's support. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't mean to embarrass you or anything, but I just liked it. So, and good luck in your future endeavors. It sounds great. So, thank you.
Sam Pilgrim is our prom king, and he was unable to make it tonight. We had a great week. Prom week was very busy for us. We take the entire week. We change our entire gym into our prom, and we do 3 dances in it. This year, our friendship ball, like I said, was amazing. Our father-daughter dance has grown to 800 plus people who come and dance, which is amazing. It's a great opportunity for our clubs to make some money and for people to see the hard work that our kids do for our prom. And then our prom night was amazing. They had a great time, and we have some amazing candidates, and all the kids were just fabulous.
And let me ask you, we're recognizing teachers this week. How do you do all that you do? We talked about this the other night, and I'm seeing you running from the athletic field back to the Senator Square for different things.
I don't watch TV.
Yeah.
I don't have time for TV.
Well, again, thank you for doing what you do for the kids.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. President, members of the board, we also have and would like to recognize our Pioneer High School prom king and queen. I don't see any representatives, however, from Pioneer High School to introduce those students. Are our prom king and queen from Pioneer High here tonight? Not seeing anyone come forward, I will ask Angela Golick, one of our sponsors for the FBLA program at Carson High School, to come forward and introduce some of her students.
Hi, good evening. I won't be as quick as Ann, I'm going to forewarn you. But I do want to introduce to you some fantastic students who are joining me tonight. Future Business Leaders of America is a CTSO program of our CTE department. Do you understand all of those? Okay, good. And FBLA is the largest career student business organization in the world, representing over 230,000 high school members. Carson High's FBLA program continues to grow every year. I am not a teaching member of the business department, but about 8 years ago, one of the business teachers asked me to co-advise FBLA. Betty Forrester was her name. She's since retired, and when she retired, I couldn't let this organization go. And I would like to invite you guys sometime to come with me to a state competition so you can see the amazing skills presented by not only our students, but the students around the state and around the country. With that said, I couldn't let go of being the advisor of FBLA, even though I do not teach business. And so I stayed on as advisor, and Mr. Billy McHenry now co-advises with me. And this year, we took the largest number of Carson High students we've ever taken to the state competition, which is held each year either in the north or in the south. And this year it happened to have been in Reno. And we took 29 of our Carson High School students to the competition. And for those of you who aren't familiar with FBLA, it's obviously business type competitions, from job interview to business presentations, business plans, those kinds of things. There are 75 plus competition kids can participate in. Of our 29 students that went this year, we had 45 top 10 finishes of around 700 FBLA students that participated from the state. So our kids did very well. We had 3 individual state champions, 1 group state champion, and 19 individuals and teams that have qualified for the national competition in Baltimore, Maryland. And I'm taking 19 students to Baltimore, Maryland in June. So we're so excited about that. A couple other highlights of FBLA attending this was that in one of the events is the business plan event. And maybe some of you are familiar with Mr. McHenry's Shark Tank presentations that he does at the high school. And so a lot of those kids revamp their business plans and then present those at the state competition. In the business plan competition at FBLA, 7 of the top 10 teams were from Carson High. And so that just speaks, multitudes about our business program and the things that Mr. McHenry has done with the business program at Carson High. 13 of our students received what's called the Aaron Hackman Scholarship while they were there as well. We were the most highly represented school where that's concerned. It's a $100 scholarship that the students get to use on their national trip that helps reduce the cost because it is quite expensive. And many of the students are up here that received that. 7 of our students earned the honor of National Business Honor Roll. So those are high standards set by FBLA. And of those 7 students, when I call your name, step forward. Some of them are here tonight. Serena Dantzler, Hannah Golick, Abby Golick, oh, she's not here, Chris Luna, Kiana Martinez, Carlos Torres, where's he at? Oh, okay, and Gloria Valdenegro. So those students received that accolade of National Business Honor Roll, which is it was wonderful. And then who's who in Nevada FBLA was Hannah Golick. And also, our chapter was given what's called the Dominator chapter. It means we had a increase in membership, a certain percentage of increase in membership. It has to do with the number of awards we won and all of that kind of thing. So we're dominators. I would like to take a minute and let these young students come up and introduce themselves and what it is that they are going to compete in Baltimore, Maryland with.
I just saw some parents in the background with cameras, and parents, please come forward if you'd like to get a better picture than the back of the head of your student. You're welcome to come up on the stage if you want to. Just if you don't want to, that's okay, but don't be shy.
We'll just start this way and come down.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I've been here a lot of times. I competed with 2 other people in an event called Publication Design, and basically for that event we were given a topic, and we were given, you're a food home delivery service, which is like a growing business in the United States, delivering food to people's doors that they cook, and we had to give the business a name. We had to design marketing products for it. So I competed with Sadie Scher and my sister Abby Golick, and we placed 4th in Publication Design. So we will be going to nationals in Publication Design. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gurjot Mand. I'm a senior at Carson High School. The events that I competed in is in client services and in sports and entertainment management. In client services, I got 4th place. And then in sports and entertainment management, my team and I, we placed 3rd place. In sports and entertainment management, it's basically they give you a scenario based on in the sports and entertainment field. So my team and I, we had 20 minutes to prepare a presentation for our sports stadium. And we placed 3rd in that event, and we plan on going to nationals in that event. Thank you.
I'm Walker McKenzie. I'm a 9th grader, and I got 7th in the state in the business plan competition. I got 6th in the state on the economics test, and I got 1st in the state on the intro to business test.
Hello, my name is Bradley Wiggins, and I qualified for nationals in Intro to Business Math, a business plan competition that my partner and I did, and Intro to Business Procedures. Now, I think I'm going to take Intro to Business Math all the way to Baltimore. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kiana Martinez, and I placed top 10 in all 5 events that I competed in. And I am taking my Intro to Business test to Baltimore, and I placed 4th place in my business plan presentation, which I used my business that I created in Mr. McHenry's class last year.
Hello, I'm Gloria Valdenegro, and I'm a sophomore at Carson High School. I placed in 3 out of 5 of my events, and the one I'm taking to national is the Introduction to Business presentation, and that was where I had to present a business presentation that had a topic for it, and the topic was what is FBLA to me, and I plan to take that to nationals.
Hello, my name is Jacob Nichols, and I placed in 2 of my events. I placed 5th in business plan, which we were already talking about, and I also placed 2nd in marketing, where we had to come up with a marketing plan and present it to judges and get questions from there. And I will be taking my marketing plan to nationals.
I'm Jaden Anderson.
I'm Casanova Segura. I'm a 9th grader, and so is Anderson.
Yep.
Sorry. Our event was social media campaign, and basically that entitled presenting after we made a strategic marketing campaign on social media, and we made 4th on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm Carlos Torres. I'm a freshman at Carson High. I placed top 10 in all 5 of my events. I qualified for nationals in one of my individual events, Introduction to Public Speaking, where I had to write an essay about FBLA and goals, development. And I also placed, my team and I placed top 3 in PSA.
Hi, my name is Aurelie Santabria.
My name is Carla Torres.
We are both juniors at Carson High School, and we are the state champions of business ethics in the FBLA competition.
In the business ethics competition, we present a case about violation of ethics within the automobile industry. We presented about Ford Motor Company, and we will be competing in this at nationals in Baltimore this year.
Hey guys, my name is Serena Dantzler. I am a freshman, so this is my first time in FBLA, my first time presenting in front of school board members, so that's fun. I placed top 10 in 4 of my 5 events, 2 of them being tests, 2 of them being a PSA that I did with Carlos Torres over there, and I also got state champion in Introduction to Public Speaking, okay, thank you.
So, if you have 4 minutes sometime, I would love for you to listen to her speech because I have a very strong feeling she's going to place top 10 in the nation. As shy as she seemed, she's going to do very well. They all will do very well. I had planned on retiring this year in FBLA, just so you know, but I'm not. Because these kids just rocked it at state. And I said, I'll graduate with this class, and this will be my last year. I'll graduate with this class. And I thought from the get-go I was going to graduate with my daughter and focus on other things. But my other younger daughter is going now, and you heard how many freshmen killed it at state and are going to nationals. So I can't walk away from that. I can't walk away from them and all their hard work. But thank you very much for having us tonight and always for supporting the programs at Carson High. Any questions?
Well, okay, Mike.
So I just want to say, you have a number of kids I affectionately used to call my twerps.
Oh, yeah.
So if that's any indication of the quality of your team, I know that it's a top-notch team, so I'm proud of all of you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank, all the kids and recognize, all of their work. That's amazing. The numbers are amazing. The individuals are amazing. But I'm glad to hear that you're not retiring. Angela, you're another teacher that does so many things. FBLA is one, but there's
a couple. I mean, it keeps me out of trouble and out of the bars. That's what I like to say. So that makes my husband happy. Not to make light of it, but this is the job I was meant to be when I think that's what I believe.
Well, just thank you for giving the guidance, just for these kids and giving them the inspiration to go for it. And
Thank you. That's very nice of you to say.
I mean, it's way beyond. So anyway, thank all of you. Anyway.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, members of the board, we have some other students yet to introduce to the school board, and to do that, I'd like to invite Ruth Lee Calario, principal at Mark Twain Elementary, to come forward.
Well, good evening, Mr. President and school board members and district officials. I'm here to not be the one that really is going to speak, but I'm going to introduce to you the people that have made our Math Olympiad program possible. So this is a brand new program for us, and we do it in our after-school sessions. So the first person I'm going to introduce you is Dr. Cook. She is the administrator that helps out after school. As part of her internship program this year, she signed on to do that, and I gladly accepted that. And then the other person is Miss Allison Crystal. She actually works for Boys and Girls Club, but she is our after-school director, and she is also phenomenal. So these two ladies are top-notch and has made this program possible. So I'm going to pass the mic over to them and let them introduce their team and how they made this possible.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Cook, and I'll tell you a little bit about the team first and what they do, and then I'll let them introduce themselves. This is a portion of our Math Olympiads and coding team. They meet once a week for Math Olympiads and once a week for coding with our amazing Carlos from our IT department. He comes over and runs a coding program that the kids really enjoy. One day a week for the 4th graders, one day a week for the 5th graders. In the Math Olympiads we practice all the grades together. This started when STEM coaches were sent to the NCSM conference, and I put my name in a drawing, and I won an entry for a Math Olympiad team this year. And so I started going to all the 4th and 5th grade classes saying, hey, who wants to do more math after school? It's going to be so much fun. And I have had a dedicated group. There's closer to 15 that are here, but normally, but we have soccer and softball and all of those things. Oh, and SBAC testing going on as well. So that's why we have a small representation tonight. But they meet every week. We focused on problem solving, multiple strategies for solving those problems, sharing our strategies, not simple calculations. That is not what Math Olympiads is about at all. And we actually have a sample for you so you can see the kinds of problems that they do in their contest. After the beginning couple of months, then we started having a contest once a month, and it's a national contest. I enter all their scores in. And so they had 5 of those. When that was over, they said, it'd be fun, let's challenge the teachers. And so I made up another contest, and we invited parents, some of them are here. We invited teachers, and we had I'd say about 40 people in the library after school one day that came in and did the contest. And it was a lot of fun. And that's the contest I brought for you tonight, just so you can see what they do, kinds of things. Did I leave anything? And you met Allison, Crystal already. All right, I'm going to let the students introduce themselves and tell you what grade they're in. Just say your name and your grade.
You want some help?
Say your name and your grade.
I am Kaden, and I'm from grade 4.
Who's your teacher?
Miss Callahan.
You're good. You're good.
Getting closer. Say your name.
My name is Yair Marquez, and I'm in the 4th grade, and my teacher is Miss Hagan.
My name is Ricky Becerra, and I am 4th grade, and my teacher is Miss Nutcher.
I am Amnesty Spraggins. I'm in 4th grade, and my teacher is Miss Callahan.
Go. Yeah, you go.
You're here.
I'm Kevin Tapia. I'm in 5th grade, and my teacher is Mrs. Heimerdinger.
Okay, and
Who did not go?
everybody introduce themselves. And then I wanted to tell you, they actually we have a high point for the season for 4th grade and one for 5th grade. And then each of the students that participated also has a certificate from the official Math Olympiads group. And then we have some friends over at Bordewick with a 3D printer that made a special gift for each of the kids as well, but I don't want to say what it is because, they're right there. So there will be an awards at the end of the year for the 4th graders and then a separate one for the 5th graders, and that's when they'll find out who's high points and get all of their certificates and everything. So you guys want to pass these out to adults? Who wants to do it? You start this way. Give it to each of the adults. You can pass it to them. Yeah. So just so you have a glance at the type of problems they're doing, you'll see it's not simple calculations. This is all about problem solving and strategies.
Well, I nominate Mr. Stokes to take the test for us.
Well, I know you don't have enough time because and I should say the students are given 30 minutes. And they may not use any calculators. They may not use any other paper except for the borders and the backs of these pages. And those questions?
Ms. Cook, I just want to say thanks for making math something that's fun and engaging, because that takes half the stigma out of it for those kids that have fear of math as they get into middle school and high school. And I think starting young like this, you're really inspiring some kids to take that path and just kind of go fearlessly in that direction. So it's great.
It's a lot of fun. And you can see I have a lot of fourth graders. It's about 2/3 fourth graders, 1/3 fifth graders. And so I'm hoping very much that those kids will roll up into fifth grade next year. Any other questions?
Okay. I'll address you as Dr. Cook.
Dr. Cook.
You know, the last time we met, you were not there yet. And
Actually, I was, but but you might not have known that, but I was.
yeah. Hey, I'd like to know, what is the tie-in with the Boys and Girls Club?
Oh, Miss Allison, talk to that, Miss Crystal.
So I'm the 21st Century Coordinator at Mark Twain, and so we already have a after-school program called SOAR, and so when we heard about this, a lot of the some of the kids who are in Math Olympiads were in SOAR, which is a after-school program to help the kids who need a little more time or a little more support academically. So this was a great way for them to get another academic intervention and to make it fun and compete and see how well they could do.
And we opened it up to fourth and fifth graders that were not in SOAR already. So it was open to everybody.
Yes.
Well, Ruth Lee and I, just all of you, and the kids, you know, you talk about amazing. You're really raising the bar over at Mark Twain, so thank you so much. And the Boys and Girls Club, this is great. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. President, members of the board, for this particular part of my report, I would like to introduce you to our new work-based learning coordinator, Miss Wyrania DeLuca. She goes by Yeti, and I probably butchered her first name, but please come up. Miss DeLuca is in her second week as our new work-based learning coordinator. And she comes really to this position with a lot of really great experience. She has worked in her past work history as a member of the Legislative Council Bureau, where she was an auditor. She's also worked for the Greater Nevada Credit Union, and she has been a member of our service organization, the Air Force. And so not only from her work experience, but she also speaks Spanish. There are some really great characteristics and qualities that she has that will let us utilize her skills, her knowledge, her abilities to help us in accomplishing much of the goals, objectives, and strategies that are associated with our strategic plan. Mrs. DeLuca has earned a master's degree in business administration from the University of Phoenix. She has a bachelor's degree in resource management from Troy State University. And she's also been a member of our local leadership class for the Carson City Chamber of Commerce. We're really excited to have her on board. She's here with her daughter Brianna. She has 2 students in our school system. And I know that Ms. DeLuca has also been very involved as a parent in our schools, and just excited to have her as a member of our team. So I'd like to turn the podium over to her to say a few words, and then certainly you are encouraged to learn a little bit more through questions if you have any for her. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you. Just a little bit of, Mr. Stokes covered a little bit about me, but just so you know, I'm humbled and excited to be here, to be given this opportunity. Yes?
Could you hold just a minute? Could you just state your name for the record?
Sure. Yerania Yeti Martel DeLuca. Yeah, he did. Complex name. I migrated from Mexico when I was 12 years old, And one of my first experiences was actually gaining some confidence through Future Farmers of America in Northern California. And when I came to Carson City, I was sad to find that I didn't have Future Farmers of America back then. So it kind of went downhill for that. But, I went on, and education has been a foundation of my success and personal fulfillment. So I've always felt the need to give back to that. And as many of you know, I've been involved, every chance I get to be involved in schools and different projects. But, as I progressed in my career, I was feeling a little empty, and I would always go back to the fire in my belly, if you will. And that's always been working with children in education. So I think this is a great partnership, because I think I can really leverage what individuals like Ms. Golick and individuals from Mark Twain have done in terms of building relationships and really growing that across the district, to have opportunity for all our students, not limited to CTE students, but just everyone. And, what an exciting opportunity that our state has to be able to provide those career explorations so young. And this is our capital city. We have so much that we can really leverage, and our community partners are ready and waiting, so I'm excited. Thank you.
Questions from the board?
I just want to say welcome aboard, congratulations. I think, just what you described is a perfect fit for what we're doing, and it sounds like with your interest and motivation, it's, I think great things are going to happen. So thank you for stepping up.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say welcome to you, Yeti, and also let you guys know that she actually volunteered to be a PTA treasurer, which is one of the worst positions in all the PTA boards, and she did a great job at it. So she's been volunteering in schools she was there. Wasn't one of those absentee vote-ins. But no, she's a great volunteer. She's got a great heart for kids, and she has a skill set that will greatly benefit our district as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Lori. I only volunteered because I knew Lori was there.
Go ahead.
I just have a question. What exactly is your job? It says work-based learning coordinator, but what exactly are you going to be doing?
Well, I think part of it will develop as we go, but there is a big initiative nationally and statewide to expand the knowledge base, if you will, for an average student in terms of applying what you learn in the classroom into a real work setting, if you will. This brings me back to a question during my interview that, and having this similar question. And I thought, well, when I was growing up, my dad was a banker in Mexico and my mom an accountant. And all I ever heard was business. You will do business because that's what we know. And as I grew up professionally, I've had a diverse background, as you read on my bio, but the biggest one was working for LCB as an auditor. So I audited everything. As a matter of fact, just finished auditing the safety of elevators in our state. So if you read that in the paper, that was my project. But when I got to do that, I learned all about mining and geology. I went home to my dad, who's still a very good advisor to me daily, and I said, Dad, you never talked to me about geology. I love working outside and thinking about rocks, and I'm, midlife. And that's what this is about, I believe. Leveraging community partnerships and filling the need for those employers, which you hear often, what's the labor market like? We don't have enough laborers. We don't, and we're all not made the same. We may not all be college bound at the same time or at all. So offering those kind of, filling those gaps and then exploring what's out there, So maybe I want to be a doctor, but no one in my family talks to me about that. Well, let's open that up for them and explore that. That's how I see it. Obviously, leveraging a lot of the programs already in place. But another quick example is just an inventory of what we're doing. We're doing so much, and we focus a lot on CET, as we should, because so much work has been done in that area. But we're also partnering with the Sheriff's Office. We have seniors that do the academy to learn about what is it to be in law enforcement, so we do that. An amazing team of teachers at the high school just started a program for any individual that wants to be a teacher. So what does that look like? So there's just so many options. So I think we're crafting that as we go, but I think the vision, at least in my mind, is clear. It's just what's the tactical steps to get there?
And I'll just say that as an administrator that has sat in many meetings with you, you are a true advocate for students. And I think that that's going to be huge with this position. I think you're the right person to kind of bring those experiences to our students. So welcome aboard and look forward to seeing what you do.
Thank you so much.
The name, Yeti, is that pronouncing it right?
Yes, I know, right? That's weird. That's
Okay.
a big story. There's a big story behind that.
Okay, well, that's good. Well, we talked earlier, but, I am really excited to have you, in this position with your enthusiasm. And as a board, one of our primary responsibilities, is not only student achievement, which we all understand is sometimes standardized tests, but it's more than that. Student achievement and success in life for all students. This is where I see you coming in, to give the opportunities for every student to be successful. And that's exposure. Sometimes it's learning beyond the classroom. And this is where you come in. And I can tell you, going back 8 years, just a brief statement that when this community got together, a lot of the business people said, we'll help. Whatever the school district wants, we want to help the students. And I think you're going to be the perfect match in now driving this. It's gone, like you said, it's come a long ways. But now taking it that next step is going to be really important. And we have 7,500 students. So anyway, welcome here, and I'm just glad you are here. And I'm glad we both started our careers in Nevada in the same place with the Legislative Counseling Bureau, so the Legislative Audit Staff, so that's all good.
It's a fun place to be.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. President, members of the board, just a few more items. I'd like to turn a little time over to Mrs. Kima to describe a little bit about a process that's happening in our school district regarding academic parent-teacher team site visits.
Susan Kima for the record. I just would like to announce the second team meeting between teachers and parents, May 21st, May 22nd, May 23rd. For those teachers who volunteer to be a part of the academic parent-teacher team cohort, you have a schedule before you. Just a point of reference, those dates for conferences that are highlighted in blue, that's a communication between Carrie Pryor and myself so that I know where she is and which conferences she's attending, and then I'll attend other conferences. So if you'd like to participate or come to the school on these days, parents have met initially with the teacher, they've set goals for their child, and now we're going to be looking at some data to see if they met their goals. Mr. Green and I had the privilege of going to Empire for the initial one of the teachers over at Empire, so if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask him. We're going to have a presentation for you June 7th on the results of this with the data. We've had teacher feedback groups, and we've asked parents what they think of it, and so we'll have a final presentation in June when our conferences are over.
Thank you.
And finally, Mr. President, just a reminder or a note for you to look at the documents that you have regarding our end-of-year activities. There have been a few revisions. They show up in red on that document. You can find that list on the webpage, and I believe Mrs. Cortez has passed out a copy of those activities to you at your site. And that is my report.
Come on. We'll begin with, let's start with Carson High tonight. We've always started with Pioneer. We'll go with Carson.
Hello, members of the board. So, let's see, where do we start? We have AP exams going through May 7th to the 17th of this month. We also have a PTSA meeting at 5:30 upstairs cafeteria at the school, which is May 14th, and then we have a salute to scholars at 6 p.m. Senator Square, May 17th. That is all.
Okay, thank you. Pioneer?
Thank you, members of the board. We just want to say thank you to all the volunteers who helped with prom. We had a great event with the largest turnout in PHS history. There will be a Project Discovery overnight trip at Mount Rose on May 16th and 17th. Sign-ups and permission slips can be picked up in Mr. Corbett's room. Come see the artworks of our PHS students at the annual art exhibit on Friday, May 18th at the Brewery Arts Center from 5 to 6 p.m. And of course, exams are almost here. Classes will be giving EOC exams the week of May 21st. The yoga classes will be taking a field trip to Lake Tahoe on Friday, May 11th, and please turn in paperwork to Ms. Watts. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Go back to what the art exhibit is going to be when?
Okay. It's going to be May 18th from 5 to 6.
At the Brewery Arts?
Yes.
Ryan?
Okay, so Fritch Elementary School is in the middle of SBAC testing, like all the other elementary schools. And also, they would like to thank the Fritch PTA for all the goodies this week for Teacher Appreciation. For Carson Middle School, they are also getting ready to start testing. Next week, they're going to have a modified schedule with half-day. 6th and 8th graders will come in the morning and finish early, and 7th graders will start late and finish at the regular time. So look for more information on that. And just a couple extra notes about high school, just because I know about it. There is a regional swim meet this Friday and Saturday here at the Carson Pool across the street, and a regional track meet. I think it starts Friday and Saturday too at Carson High. So if you're bored and want to go watch some sporting events, there are some things available this weekend here in town.
Done? Okay.
Let's see, the high school, there's an all-sports meeting for parents and athletes, May 21st, 5:30 in the gym. So anybody who's interested in participating in the upcoming sports season, you can attend to get some valuable information there. I know before our next meeting, I believe, is when high school graduation is going to be. Is that right? Or do we? No, we have another meeting before graduation. So I'll make the announcements then, but I was just going to remind everybody that not only to support the high school, but also the kids who are in Jumpstart are going to have the WNC Jumpstart graduation as well. So some pretty exciting times for us. Eagle Valley Middle School today did a their annual mock job interviews. And I know Mrs. Kima was there, as was I. And every year it just seems to get better. I mean, the students this year, I'm not kidding, a couple of them were pretty intimidating. I was like, I wasn't sure what to ask at the end. Just sharp, really sharp kids, well prepared, and they're getting beyond, the usual, make sure you show up, shake your hand, make good eye contact. The kids actually engaged, had questions afterwards, good questions, and it was really exciting to see how this is really evolving. I mean, the kids are going to be in good shape when it comes time to really be putting themselves, in front of people to interview. Also, I think it was last week, I attended the EDU 110 banquet, which is for the future educators. Mrs. Kima was the keynote speaker, possibly by default. But did a very good job. Again, I think there were 15 students that completed the program, had received experience in a number of classrooms, prepared and taught lessons. Really, again, really a good group of students. I think most of them, after doing it, decided education is a path they want to take. So Mr. Delphin is going to try to corral them, I'm sure. But anyway, it was really nice to see. So, my hats off to Mrs. Lopsinger and Mrs. Chandler. I think they ran a top-notch program. Let's see. Last but not least, I'll take this minute for just a quick selfish announcement, because he's a product of this school district. But my son, Tony, graduated from college this weekend. Member of HOSA, graduated in 2014, and just another example of all the kids we have going on to do great things. So he's on his way for a well-deserved vacation, then he's going to go to New York to prepare for, get some work experience and prepare for PA school. So exciting times. That completes my report.
So both Bordewick, Bray, and Fremont report that they are working on their SBAC testing like all the other elementary schools. Fremont, again, is reminding families, if you had a child who attended school and you have art hanging on the walls, they're trying to get those families to reunite with the artwork because they're taking it down for some revitalization of the hallways. Bordewick Bray is doing bike safety in PE, and they're excited about that. And next week, they're going to have Missoula Theater on campus. So Missoula Theater will be there from 5:14 to 5:18, which, if you don't know that, they come in and they put a play together really in 1 week, and it's usually pretty impressive. So I think that's going to be pretty exciting for Bordewick Bray. That concludes my report.
Stacy.
Well, I've been seeing a lot of Joe because I was at the educators banquet, which was really nice. And that means that there were 15 Carson High students that got college credit that their parents didn't have to pay for. So whether they go into the education field or they don't, if they don't, they get to use it for an elective. So that I thought that was quite impressive. And then today I did the 8th grade interviews, and I'm telling you, Joe, if I had been this polished at 8th grade, I'd be a lot farther in life. Those kids were just incredible. They were right on target. They had eye contact. I've done a lot of interviewing with adults, and these kids blew them away. It was pretty impressive. Then just a wrap up from NASB, we had our safety school workshop here. We had over 60 participants, and I'd like to thank Pool Pack for their help in financing some of our speakers. We had a pretty good turnout. I thought it was really good. We learned a lot of stuff, and it's always nice to have it in our hometown. And to remind you that nomination forms were given to you last meeting, so if we get started on those, I know a couple of us have some really good ideas, so August 15th always seems to come up a lot faster. And then we enjoyed the classified banquet award ceremony on Sunday with Dawn was there too. And that was a really nice function. And then I'd just like to thank Laurel from Carson, Carmen from Churchill, and Karen for Douglas for their votes to be the NIAA representative for Region 2 again for 3 years. So I am proud and excited. And to thank Carson High for putting on the swim meet for the regionals and the track meet. And the track meet's going to be the states up here too. So that's a pretty big endeavor for our school, and I'm pretty proud, and they do such a good job. So.
Let me just follow up what Joe said about the WNC, the Jumpstart graduation. That date of graduation is the 21st. It's the day before our next meeting. So we're going to have over, I think some 20 students that will be from Carson that will be getting their AA degree before their high school degree. So, I mean, that's going to be kind of nice. Man, my granddaughter's one of them. So it's all fun. The other thing, to follow up on what Stacy said about the NASB safety, conference, that was a pretty serious presentation about different aspects of safety. And I think to follow up on that, I think we as a board should maybe have a little follow-up on that conference regarding our schools and really take another look at what we've got. So. Once for future agenda items, maybe we can get with Ann and then take a serious look at what we are doing here. With that, we'll move on to agenda item number 5, and that's association reports. Seeing none. We'll go on to public comment, and this is a time for any of you sitting out here that wish to come forward to speak on any issue that is not on the agenda. Just feel free to come forward.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Sean Lehman. This is an issue that my family and I have been dealing with for over the past couple years. Kind of a difficult issue for us to bring to the board, but sometimes we feel difficult items need to be discussed. I wanted to assure you that we've gone through all the proper channels, talked with athletic directors, superintendents. But on the Nevada State Education Association website, there's a large subtitle that says, if I cannot get a suitable response or action from my teacher, principal, or district superintendent for a problem I must have resolved, what are my options? And it simply says you can prepare written documentation regarding the problem and a suggested solution and submit it during public comment at the next school board. So that's what we are doing. We have a written description of the problem, and we do have some solutions as well. So now, keep in mind, this is uncomfortable for me, but we feel that the board needs to be aware of some things that have happened, and we are going to provide some solutions as well. So I do have 3 pages that I'm going to read, then I will give that to you for the record. So this is an attempt to address a recurring issue that has been happening at Carson High School. As many of you know, I was a distance coach at CHS for nearly a decade. I began coaching when my boys were age 4 and 6. They're now 13 and 15. I really enjoyed those times and felt I had an impact on many kids. This is not an attempt of a disgruntled employee to get their job back. This is an attempt to expose the culture within the district, and particularly the athletic department, a culture that is hostile to outsiders and values seniority in the district over the kids. In 2016, I was able to coach Steve Pradere's daughter when she was a freshman. She had a remarkable year. In fact, the time she achieved that year are still her lifetime best. During that season, Mr. Pradere told another coach that he alone was going to make his daughter the best runner in the country. At the final meet of the year, he very angrily told me that I needed to learn, quote, the culture of the district, and that he knew what he was doing. I was a bit stunned and confused by these statements. I asked Mr. Pradere twice to meet with me to clarify things. He ignored both invitations. In November that year, then head coach Robert Ma informed me that Mr. Pradere told him that his daughter would not run at CHS if I was the coach. Mr. Ma had a hard time deciding what to do. He asked me to give him some statistics from the previous year so that he could get Steve off his back. When other coaches heard of Mr. Pradere's threat, many of them said that his daughter should run elsewhere. Make no mistake, if Mr. Pradere was not an administrator, that is absolutely what would have happened. I did not hear anything from Mr. Ma for over a month. In January 2017, I happened to be at a running event where both Mr. Pradere and his daughter were present. As the runners strung out, I made a point to ask Mr. Pradere about his intentions. I simply asked him, I heard that your daughter isn't running with us this year. At that point, Mr. Pradere went into a rage. For a full 15 to 20 minutes, he yelled at me, swore at me, and insulted me. The anger was intense. He told me that he was taking over the coaching the girls and that the superintendent had given him permission. This was a one-sided verbal assault that took place. It turns out that Mr. Pradere was given the opportunity to coach the girls that year. Contrary to everything myself and Mr. Ma talked about, Mr. Pradere was granted his wishes after complaining loud and hard. He was not hired due to being a superior coach, but because of his position in the district. Readily available objective numbers prove that. It is also a fact that he became interested in coaching only after his daughter was on the team. At the end of the year, Mr. Ma retired from being head coach and Stephen Nelms was hired. I made it clear to Nelms at the outset that I wanted to return. In fact, in a newspaper article about his upcoming head coach duties, Mr. Nelms said the following, quote, the first thing I have to do is talk to people who were on the staff last year and see if they're interested in coming back, end of quote. Make no mistake, Nelms knew I was interested. Make no mistake, successful coaches that have been at CHS for a decade are always asked back. I diligently prepared my application, my letter of intent, my resume, and submitted 3 letters of recommendation that I have all right here. Mr. Nelms readily admitted that he didn't look at any of them. In the end, Nelms chose to let me go and have Mr. Pradere take over both the boys and girls. The decision clearly was not based on merit, experience, or results. I even offered to volunteer at no charge, but was denied. Mr. Nelms did try hard to find a rational reason for doing this, including calling the cross-country coach, but was unable to find any compelling rationale. Ultimately, it was the culture of the district that allowed Mr. Pradere to get his way over 2 coaches that are inferior to him in the hierarchy of the district. Yet the district's own anti-bullying policy describes bullying as someone who, quote, exploits an imbalance in power between the person engaging in the act or conduct and the person who is the subject of the act or conduct. Make no mistake, the actions of Mr. Pradere in this case fit that description. As you can imagine, we are not happy about this, especially knowing that our own son Parker would be competing this year. We definitely did not expect Parker to respect a man that had assaulted his father and bullied his way into the position. My wife and I both talked to the athletic director and superintendent. Mr. Stokes verified that he never gave Mr. Pradere permission to take over the girls the year prior, which was a direct contraindication to what I had been told previously. This was very hard on our family. We did nothing wrong. Other community members were critically aware of the injustice that had been done. The man that has undeniably been the best runner in this town over the past decade said this, quote, this is complete BS. I have no respect for Pradere and I question Mr. Nelms' ethics. Steve may have done some good things within the school district over the years, but what he has done to manipulate his way into the track position displays such poor ethics, etiquette, and compassion. This infuriates me. I don't understand why the school district would allow this. It seems they want nothing more than parental involvement, yet they'll promote an executive instead. This blows my mind." End of quote. A well-respected physician in town whose kids had the opportunity to coach, I just saw one of them right now, told me this, quote, "Thank you for coaching my kids. In my opinion, you're an excellent coach and an ideal mentor and role model for the runners. This is not the first time Carson High has done this to a great coach and decimated a program that was really helping the kids." End of quote. Perhaps the most damning comments were from a former athletic director at CHS that said this, quote, "It's really too bad when the ego of the coaches comes before the kids themselves." End of quote. There are many other coaches, parents, and athletes that are upset about what happened, yet few of them are willing to come forward because they have seen what has happened to me and my family. They don't want to be blacklisted by the athletic department, and they certainly don't want the athletic director telling them to find a new school. Make no mistake, what happened was wrong. It was a direct violation of the district's own anti-bullying policy. It put the athletes into an awkward position this year. As we feared, the bullying did not stop after Mr. Perdere took over the program. He then proceeded to limit opportunities for many on the team. My son Parker particularly was singled out. Keep in mind that Parker, a 14-year-old, is your #1 student academically in the freshman class. #1. Hardly the guy that district employees should be singling out to treat unfairly. During the season, Parker was given one single opportunity to run the 3,200 meter and only ran the 1,600 meter twice. These are his focus events. His peers at other schools all had well over a dozen opportunities to run their events. Even with his very limited opportunities, Parker ran varsity times at all of his events. All of them. Yet Parker was forced to run in the JV championships against his will. His season ended unhappily on April 28th, far too soon. One courageous varsity athlete resigned from track. He resigned from the team because of how Parker was treated. This particular athlete publicly made some very strong points in Parker's defense. We also tried to stick up for Parker and point out egregious double standards made by the athletic department. Toward the end of the season, when it became obvious to Parker that his season was ending in unprecedented fashion, he stuck up for himself as well. The last communication we got from the athletic director was that Parker should, quote, "seek opportunities elsewhere to participate in interscholastic sports after this season." End of quote. What a way to treat your #1 student, a student that has a passion and a talent for running. Unfortunately, that passion has significantly dampened due to the events of this year. Here are the facts. When Mr. Perdere, a school administrator, complained about my coaching with no facts whatsoever, he became the coach. When I complained about his coaching with objective facts, I was told to find another school for my son. This is a gross double standard, yet this is exactly the culture of the district that Mr. Perdere wanted me to learn. It is a culture where the person in the highest capacity at the district gets what they want. It is a culture where the administrators at the district circle the wagons to protect their own. It is a culture that definitely discourages involvement from those that are not district employees. It is a culture that has been displayed before and many in the community are aware of, and it's a culture that has to stop. Now, I have two things that I would like you to consider. #1, the district needs to immediately adopt a policy wherein administrators are not allowed to be coaches. #2, the district should establish a citizen athletic board, similar to the school board, where grievances can be heard. This has been done elsewhere, and I believe that alone is critical in an effort to avoid further problems, a citizen athletic board. Finally, I'm invoking my rights under Nevada law as a whistleblower. Any attempts at retaliation against myself or my family by any member of the athletic department or school district is forbidden. I hope you can find it appropriate to ask on my suggestions, to act on them. With the current culture in the district, it makes it difficult for the kids themselves to achieve their potential, and that simply isn't right. The ego of the coaches should never come before the betterment of our children. Thank you for your time. And I appreciate the time that you did give me. This was a very difficult thing for us to do, but I can tell you that it's been difficult for our family the past couple of years as well. And it's something that we've really had to grapple with. And it's the double standard. I'm not here to ask to be a coach again. That's out the window. But I would like an explanation of why there's such a double standard.
Mr. Lehman, thank you for for coming forward. And that last point about retaliation, I think I can speak for the board. If there's any retaliation, that's not acceptable. But it's that alone. But I'm sure that you have been working with Mr. Stokes, and maybe have you presented those two solutions to him?
Those two items have not been presented to Mr. Stokes yet. No. although he is critically aware of what the situation is, yeah.
I know we're not doing anything except, and I'm just not taking it on the board. But the next step might be with Richard maybe getting together with Mr. Lyman and exploring those two options.
And who would I give this to? So, yeah, I did again want to thank you for your time. In the end, we just felt that the board should be aware of what's happened to our family. And once you have this information, you know, it's up to you what you do with it. I mean, in the end, we're moving on, but we did feel that the board needed to be aware of what had happened.
You know, and I just want to say, your whole family is, you know, I think highly of you all. So your boys are tremendous kids, and you and your wife are great volunteers. So, you know, one of the things when people complain to me, I often say, you got to be brave. And you're going to have to come and you're going to have to voice these concerns, because I can't just give anonymous complaints for people. And so, you know, the culture that you're wanting changed, I think taking the time to come forward and to make it public and to advocate for your family is how you change culture. And I know it's difficult, so thank you for taking the time to do that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walker. I highly appreciate that. Thank you.
Kind. Thank you. And to hear us, thank you.
Not a comment, but for Parker's edification, I know he doesn't probably understand the process. We can't debate this in public. No, I know, in public forum right now, but I want to say, you know, what you guys brought forward, and you just sitting there is a testament to your courageousness too. And I've had the opportunity to run with you, and you're an exceptional athlete, so it would be our loss not to have you as part of the team.
I do thank you again, and I would imagine a lot of you are parents. And I sit in my home and watch the dedication of my sons, particularly this one. Come home every day and lifts weights. Come home every day and look at YouTube videos on running. Has goals to get to Stanford. Has all kinds of goals set. And to watch him walk off the track 3 times this year, crying, you get pretty motivated as a parent. So I do, again, thank you for your time, and perhaps we can act on the 2 items that we talked about. Thank you for your time.
I was just going to thank you and just say, because it is in public comment, we can't take any action at this time, and that's why we're careful even in the comments that we're making. But thank you for coming. And
thank you very much.
My name is Michelle Lehman, and just to follow up on that, we're not here to have a debate. We wanted to present only of what's happened to our family, which has been difficult, to say the least. And so we just want to present it. So now Mr. Stokes was aware of it. The athletic department's aware of it. We've talked to everybody. This is our last course of action. We give it to you. We've been damaged. We are doing it for the future kids and the future families, hopefully that they won't be destroyed and won't have to go through this very difficult thing and not have anyone to go to. We've had no one to go to, which is why we're here. So we give it to you. We're not interested in any further debate. We've dealt with it as a family, and we give it to you to figure out how to deal with it. But our only hope is that other families don't have to go through what we have. Thank you.
I'm going to make an exception. Any other comments on this issue? Okay, and we will, or Mr. Stokes will be doing some follow-up. So thank you for bringing it forward. Okay, agenda item number 7, which is an overview of the Carson High School Student Computer Technician Program. And Raymond.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the board. Raymond Medeiros for the record. This year, we restructured our department a little bit, and one of those changes was putting Mr. Mendoza moving him from the district office over to Carson High School. And he is one of our network support technicians. That move opened up some additional opportunities for us. One of those opportunities was the ability to support a student-led technician program at Carson High. So we actually have students come in to a help desk and they repair devices and they do everything a technician would do, hands-on experience. Miss Lewis, our CTE program administrator, helped us identify and onboard a group of students. We have 3 this year. It's going to be 4 next year, and I'm excited to say one of those is a female student from Carson High, which is really good because IT is historically a male-dominated field, so it's great to see some females getting in there. So she's helped, Miss Lewis has helped us, or Mrs. Lewis has helped us onboard some of these students. And Mr. Mendoza works with these students to support not only the technology of other students, so the peers, but also staff technology. So these students are out there helping their peers, and they're also helping teachers repair, fix, diagnose, troubleshoot their technology within the classrooms as well. The students gain hands-on experience, which include diagnosing, troubleshooting hardware, software issues, ordering replacement parts. They repair devices, and they also close service tickets. So the students are not just learning about technology, they're learning with the technology, which I think is really important, as Mrs. DeLuca mentioned a moment ago. And I just wanted to mention, one of the students who wasn't able to make it here today, he mentioned something to me the other day when I was talking to him, and his name is Corey. And he said, sorry, I'm trying to find my place here. He said he appreciates the program because sometimes the things that he learns in the class do not always translate well to real-world applications. So he sometimes needs to reassess and alter his approach as he progresses through the diagnosing and troubleshooting process. So these are the types of things that these students are learning. They're actually able to apply their skill set in a real-world situation, and they have to adjust and use some critical thinking and figure out alternatives, because sometimes your first approach isn't always the successful one. So you might fail 3 times before you actually come across a successful solution. So at this time, I'm going to introduce Mr. Barham. He's actually our IT Essentials instructor at Carson High School, and he's really in charge of these students, and they're enrolled under his course, so they're under his supervision, but they are released into the student help desk in order to kind of participate in some of those hands-on experiences. So, Mr. Barham.
Thank you. As Raymond said, my name is Josh Barham. I'm the IT Essentials teacher at Carson High School. This is my 2nd year, and real quick, I'm just giving you an overview of what the program is. So while I have them, I teach them the basics of computer and computer repair. So the different components of hardware that go into a computer, how to install them, configure them, how to assess needs for a customer, how to work with customers. We also look at things like setting up networks, installing printers, fixing printers, basically everything they need to know to be a computer technician. And then once I'm done with them and they've passed their test, they got to go work with Carlos and kind of refine their skills a little bit more. So I guess I'll pass off to Carlos to let you guys know what he does. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the board. Carlos Mendoza for the record. So the students have been with me this past semester, 3 of them, 2 on A day, 1 on B day. So I have somebody every day with me. And basically what they do is they do what I do. We diagnose and repair Chromebooks that everybody uses at the high school. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. Diagnostics is 90% of the work. So find out what's wrong with it. They also learn how to order parts and receiving and then shipping out bad parts. So they're involved in the entire process. They also close tickets and put the resolution in the tickets so that the librarians can know what was wrong with the device. They also follow me around in the classrooms to repair laptops, desktops, hook up printers, assign IP addresses. A lot of the times I just watch them do it. I supervise them and they do it themselves. So I'm pretty excited that we're going to continue this program to next year and that we have people lined up. Thank you. And I'd like you to introduce to the students, Johan and Sam.
Good evening, members of the board and Mr. President. My name is Johan Thompson. I am a senior at Carson High School. I've been a student of Mr. Barham's for the last 2 years, and given this pilot program that he's established this year, I believe that having the real-world experience of working in IT at the school level has provided something that really can't be taught through textbooks or PowerPoints. Getting to go out with Mr. Mendoza to repair computers in classrooms or fixing student Chromebooks. Just this morning in government class, I noticed a student whose Chromebook, the bezel around the LCD, was coming off, and it was a simple and easy fix to snap it right back into place. Without Mr. Mendoza's assistance, number one, I never would have noticed the issue. Number two, I would not have known how to fix it. Expanding a little bit on some of our duties as student technicians, we have assisted in the repair of the network outage that occurred at Carson High School in April. We watched some of what the technicians from the district level did. We've also gone around and we completely replaced all of the computers in the south lab of the Carson High School library. I assisted with that over winter break, coming in on off time to assist Mr. Mendoza, as well as the two technicians from the middle school, Stefan and Ian, with repairing and replacing computers in that lab. And on a daily basis, there's always something new, whether it's new issues coming in with a Chromebook or an emergency service call from a panicked teacher that can't get her projector to work. It completely varies day to day. And at this time, I'd like to introduce my fellow student, Sam Wilson.
Hello, board. Mr. President. For the record, my name is Sam Wilson. And Johan kind of summed up the course and class that we do take. We do learn a lot of the technical issues. By now, I am able to open up Chromebooks and I know every component in there and how to replace every component. I have completely swapped out the entire, we had to do a keyboard replacement, which entails every component in the computer to essentially just be transferred over to the new one. And so all this new technical devices and issues that we learn, we diagnostics, as Mr. Mendoza said, 90%. And so Johan essentially summed up the entire thing. A lot of what we've learned is dealing with a lot of, as you can say, clients, mainly teachers and students, and just working with them, being able to help them understand their problems, maybe be able to show them how to fix it next time. We had a teacher who couldn't get internet working, and it turned out just to be the Ethernet cord was plugged into the wrong port, and just being able to let them know, hey, just try different ports next time. That way you're able to fix it, and just help everyone kind of improve in technology, since that is the way of the future. So.
And one final thing to close up my comments on this before questions. One of the most important things I believe that this IT Essentials Advanced Studies program has assisted me with was the state's career technical examination, which in order to gain the college credit from this career technical program, you have to pass this examination. And some of these questions pertain to troubleshooting and the troubleshooting process. As Mr. Barham has taught the 6-step CompTIA troubleshooting process, it's easy to memorize. However, when they give you a situation saying a client can't do X, Y, or Z, what's your first step? This program really assisted me in that when I sat down to take the test, I was thinking, what would Mr. Mendoza logically make the first step to be? So if we came out to this, what would the logical first step be because of this experience? And I'm happy to say that because of it, I passed the exam successfully. So if there are any questions.
I have some observations. I mean, this is it's exactly where our community came in and said, this is what we want to offer. Learning beyond the classroom. And you gave the perfect example. We have abstract learning, which we might get in the classroom, and we have applied learning. As a result, from the community, our strategic plan, community in full partnership, learning beyond the classroom, spelled out these things. Project-based learning, authentic learning, real-life learning. That's what this community wanted to give. You're great examples right here.
Thank you.
No, really, and you talk about our responsibility for student achievement and success in life. You've done both. You've got both ends of this. And you're well on your way, and thank you to all of you. Raymond, I mean, this is, who thought about this? Whose idea was this to get it started?
This was, it's been talked about in the district for a little while, but we didn't really have the resources at the high school to just let students loose without any kind of coaching and guidance kind of thing. So one of the reasons for moving Mr. Mendoza over to the high school was for this opportunity, because we thought it would be such a great opportunity for students to be able to learn hands-on with one of our technicians and kind of work side by side and solve a lot of those problems at the high school. So I don't want to say it was my idea, because we have been talking about it for quite a while, but it was the move, I think, that enabled or that allowed the resources to be available to support the program.
Well, thank you for doing that. Now, you said you have 3 students this year.
Yes.
What do you, going forward, what would you like to have, or what do you think would happen? Would it be?
So next year, we have 4 already enrolled, and when I was speaking to Mrs. Lewis yesterday, she had anticipated there would be more applicants. I think I would need to discuss with her and Mr. Mendoza as to what kind of capacity he can handle in there and what would be reasonable, but I would think we can go with maybe 6. We can increase that to 6 or possibly more, but this year was a pilot program, so we kept the student enrollment kind of low in this one to just kind of see how it went, work out the kinks, and it's gone really successful, as you can hear from the students behind me, and it's just been awesome hearing their experiences and the things that they're doing and how they're progressing through.
Two great examples. Any other comments?
I just want to thank you for the program and the opportunity for the students. I think being able to grow this is important. I can tell you as a co-owner of a company, the amount of money and effort we spend to maintain a computer system at work at a professional level, and the difficulty it is to find the right people that can run these programs. I mean, it's a fantastic career path to look into, and I think getting some experience at such a young age is fantastic. Good for you guys. I think there's a lot of opportunity out there.
Thank you. Well, thank all of you. Hey, Raymond, thank you. You took the lead and you made it happen, which is, you got to be recognized for that.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mendoza, your guidance, and I was, in the IT Essentials on that career night, I went over and I was kind of impressed. Just talking one-on-one, because I was just kind of curious. Adam Watley used to be doing that, and then I just wanted to see who was taking over. But yeah, it seemed like we're moving forward. We keep raising the bar, and you did that. You raised it in a big way. So thank you very much, and I hope to see 10 to 15 in there. So.
Yeah, that would be great. I'd really love that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 8, update on the Carson City School District Strategic Plan, Empower Carson City 2022, Goal 2, Curriculum That Matters.
Susan Kima for the record. For tonight's presentation, I'll be referring to the artifacts that are in your board packet. Goal 2, Curriculum That Matters, is a section of the Carson City School District Strategic Plan, Empower Carson City 2022. If you look on the artifact, the Goal 2, Curriculum That Matters reads, it is to provide multiple pathways that empower lifelong learners, active citizens, and career and college-ready students from pre-K through grade 12. This is a strategic plan goal that I could take the entire board meeting to discuss. Not just because I'm long-winded or passionate about this particular goal, but because, as you have witnessed through our Race to the Top presentation, there's a lot to talk about, a lot to go over regarding assessment, the data that goes with that, the curriculum and instruction. But tonight's objective, and tonight's goal, I just want you to know this is a goal that we'll be presenting all year long, not just with the materials adoptions that we're bringing before you, the data that's going to be rolling in here pretty soon, when we highlight initiatives such as the one-to-one project or programs such as CTE, we'll be bringing pieces of this particular goal to you all year long. But tonight I want to focus on the community PLC. This itself, the process, the discussions, how the curriculum that matters team operates. Mrs. Crossman, board member trustee, Mrs. Crossman, feel free to add to my overview as I go through it. Mr. Gene Green has come here tonight as our citizen, as part of the committee, and he will share his experiences at the end of this overview. Mr. Rod Butler is a teacher who has been attending the meetings all along. He's in the back, and I just like to acknowledge him. To give you a few points about the team, this is a team that has added folks over time during our quarterly PLC. Our last meeting, we had an additional citizen, a librarian, and a gate teacher that showed up to our table. Trustee Laurel Crossman, Gene Green, and Rod Butler, as I mentioned, have been consistent team members from its inception. This is a team that embraces the format that was given to us by the Planning Committee. As you can see by the items in your board packet, we cover a rich amount of, our topics are rich, from technology to sustainability to social emotional learning to standards and assessments, project-based learning as well. Our team has a system. I would like to publicly thank Leanne Morris for being our note taker during the meetings. And that's what you're looking at here in your board packet is our note-taking system. I update the doc. She takes the minutes on the notes on the day of our meeting. Then before the next community PLC, I update the product with what's happened since the last PLC. I bring in artifacts on the things that might need further explaining for the group. The items in red are the new items since we last met, and I'm getting this ready. You have what I'm getting ready for our board for our meeting on March 16th. So the items are the red, and those will be the items that we'll discuss. I place the items in a particular category, and then during the meeting when we're coming to a common understanding and we're discussing the items, the team will confirm or decide to either move something up a category or lower the category. So we move the placement of our thinking back and forth based on a discussion. Our biggest challenge, and I think the team might agree with that, is the fact that the discussion is so rich that sometimes we don't get to everything. As you know, towards the end of the packet, if you look on page 7, Objective 2.2, Strategy 2.2.3, through community partnerships and district resources, students will have the opportunity to learn about environmentally friendly actions and sustainable practices. We have not gotten to that strategy yet. And you can see by my notes that at this next meeting, Mr. Cornick, who has been leading the charge on sustainability, will be our guest at the table, and he'll bring his artifacts, and as a team, we'll decide the initiatives that he's putting in place, where to put that and what needs to be done next. If the overview, as far as looking at this particular document, those items that are listed under the no or minimum evidence, you can see that many of those are curricular areas that we have yet to address, and we'll start many of those next fall. Another example is we said no evidence. The last time we met, we had not hired a work-based learning coordinator. So when we meet again, we're going to decide, is it enough that we hired the work-based learning coordinator? We can move them over to the middle category because now we're in progress. Or do we need more evidence that we have some more things going? And the committee will make those decisions, not me. Planning and implementing and revising, that section in the middle, you can see is where the bulk of the action steps are. The goal is to complete the majority of them. When our teachers are leaving, we have some curricular course offerings after school is out, but to have most of that work done June 15th. And I have Dr. Pradare putting together for me a spreadsheet so that I can look at social studies, the MIUs are done, the assessments are done, the benchmarks are done, the learning guides are done, and then the data's in and a comparison. And we'll be able to provide that for the committee the next go around. And it's not like we don't have data, but in this particular committee, we needed to decide as a group what we wanted to review. And I didn't want to bring in data before the team decided what were some of the areas of emphasis. The evidence in place with evidence with systems in place, that's our highest scores. You can see most of those items are like check in the box, like did we adopt the materials? Did we provide the training? Did we have professional learning? However, and do we have the programming? But what we'll do is we'll bring impact data to our community PLC and we'll decide if the data is showing that we really do have the evidence that that's working or we need to move it back to work in progress. So you'll see that's kind of the process and the thinking of how the committee has been working together. And unless Mrs. Crossman has something to add or you have questions, we would move on to Mr. Green's testimony.
Sue, I think you summarized it, the progress of how we're evaluating it and where we're placing things. There's rich discussion among the committee go ahead, Mike.
One of the things I was thinking of, because at the last community PLC I joined in with this group, is it seems to me, and I mean, I guess correct me if I'm wrong, the first phase has really been implementation of curriculum. And so maybe like phase 2 is going to be kind of refining those experiences to make them more effective in our classrooms, and kind of like the professional development. Right now we're just saying, okay, here's the trainings we've given, but like year 2, maybe it's how are we going to evaluate that it's truly effective or impacting classroom learning or practices.
That's a great summary.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, Sue, I was impressed when I went through this. And just your comment on the work-based learning, well, yet I'm glad, I'm not glad, but I hope she would still be here. It's important. The curriculum that matters means to make sense for kids being successful. And the project-based learning, that's where curriculum that matters connects with community and full partnerships. You can't go one without the other. And I'm just glad to see that you've got this set out. And again, when I was yesterday talking with Richard, all this is going to be posted on the website. This is what Mike Walker wanted. And the only thing
to clarify, this was a parent had requested that.
But it makes sense. We have a strategic plan, and oftentimes strategic plans sit on the shelf and nothing is done. This commits us to, once it's out here, then people will have the opportunity to look at this and then say, oh, well, here's a strategic plan that is moving forward for the benefit of the kids. Now, the only thing that I would suggest with this being posted on the website, some of the acronyms and stuff, you'd have to maybe spell out a little bit because,
Right. This was for these are our committee notes, and we wanted you to be able to see how we think. Because there's a lot of lingo, and we spend a lot of time making sure that when Leanne's putting in an abbreviation, the team knows what it means. But for the public, it needs to look a little different.
Well, yeah, and the community needs to see this. I'm not opposed to this. I'm just so it's spelled out. But I want to thank you for all the work, and Rod and your other person is going to come up here and talk. But I mean, this is important going forward, and we just heard a couple kids with a good example that just left. So anyway.
That's exciting. I'd like to take this time to introduce Mr. Gene Green. He's been on the committee since its inception, and he's one of our community members, telling you what his experience is.
For the record, I'm Gene Green, Mr. President, members. This is
what this does for me as a community member, it helps me understand why things are being implemented, why new programs are being implemented. And when you see these changes, what you're not seeing is the data that we look at, and we can see which schools maybe aren't moving as fast as others and things like that. And it helps us when we move these things across the board. It's a tremendous tool. I wish we had longer to work on it, because it is truly a tremendous tool, and I've been very proud to be a part of it. It has helped me understand a great deal more than I ever knew about what was going on in the schools and this little package right here covers everything from preschool right on up through 12th grade. And it's well, thank you for your involvement. And you know, just as a community member, you can see that things are moving in to make it better for the kids, that there'll be have a better chance of success in life. Yeah, and we can see through that analysis too, if a program doesn't work, we'll see it sooner. And we also see another thing as a community member. One of the things that for me had a big impact was seeing how many things are implemented because they're directed out of the community through the State Board of Education and stuff, and why we're doing some things that basically are out of our hands, but we will do the best we can to work with them and make them work for our community. Thank you for your comments. Any questions or any comments from the board?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. She's done a great job.
I love my community members. And Rod, do you want to have anything to say?
I'll wait until next one.
Okay. I think we probably want to throw out a challenge, don't we, Mr. Green, that we think we should be nominated as PLC Community Committee of the Year. Just throwing out a challenge there, maybe, for others to rise up to.
Modesty will get you everywhere, Mrs. Keenan.
You know what? I'm going to advocate for my team.
If there's no other comments from the board, Sue, thank you very much for just directing and leading this. This is an important committee. I know Rod's done a lot on here, and Mr. Green, thank you again for your efforts. So, okay.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 9, that's discussion and possible, here comes Rod. Possible action to approve the adoption of the 2018 advanced placement, the AP physics material for the Carson City School District in an amount not to exceed $13,200 as budgeted.
Susan Kima for the record. Tonight, Science Implementation Specialist Rod Butler and I are happy to present to you selected material for AP Physics. The selection process followed requirements for NRS NAC 390. There weren't any citizens that came in to the district office to provide feedback on the chosen material during the public review portion of the selection process. Per your approval, this product is slated for the June 7th State Board final approval. The cost of the project is approximately $13,200, which I believe that's a bit high. We've got some estimates that are going to bring that down. Your board packet doesn't have any signature. I need to point out that your board packet doesn't have a signature on the certification of compliance page from me. I think what happened is that Mr. Butler was so efficient, and Paige wanted to get it off to Renee, so it was in the board packet, that your copy doesn't have that. But my original copy that's going to be sent to the state board tomorrow has my signature on that. Next, Mr. Butler will tell you why the College of Physics AP edition by Cengage Learning was selected, and a little bit about the committee.
Rod Butler for the record. What a perfect tie-in to Curriculum That Matters. When you talk about AP Physics, the committee, for the most part, the committee's small. It's Mr. Bean. And Mr. Covington from the university assisted with that. The biggest thing that Mr. Bean was looking for to continue to grow the AP Physics program and to continue to have great success with AP results with the students was to find curriculum that tied in language-wise this time with what AP exam questions look like. He, in the past, have done most of the curating of these type of questions on his own. And so this time when we went through the textbook adoption process, he originally started off and wasn't going to do it. And his reason was, that's a lot of money. And then we said, well, there's money there. You might find something that you really like. So he went through about 8 textbooks along with Mr. Vickery and myself. And he really identified the textbook that presented questions in a way that lined up with the AP exam and that would best fit his style of teaching. And if you guys have never been in his classroom to watch students in his physics class, you need to go in and watch an exam in his class. It is really project-based. He sets up 3 or 4 different tables. And the kids have to work from one table to the next, and they finally end up in front of him. And he lays out a scenario in front of them, and they have to work through and explain their whole thinking to him, and then provide him the answer. And then the next kid comes up, and he changes all the variables. And so it's an interesting process to watch what he does, and they build, each station gets them to that final one so they're ready to tie it all together. And so he was looking for a textbook that followed that process that he likes to follow.
I like hearing that, project-based. That's good. And thank you for your involvement in, keeping this thing going. I just want to ask you a question, aside from the physics part of this, just a personal question. How's your son doing? Didn't he go in the Marines?
Yeah, he is in the Marines. He is deployed, and we get to talk to him occasionally. So that's where we are. That's all I can share.
Well, again, thank you. Any comments here, Joe?
I just want to say, going through college and going through all the calculus and physics and all that, I mean, I think it's great that we have a book that's going to take these high school AP kids from, basically how they sum it up is from the mechanics of physics through the whole electricity and magnetism. These kids are going to be, quite a bit farther ahead than quite a lot of their peers who are they're gonna find themselves sitting next to them in college. So, combining that with the project-based learning and whatnot, I think, I think the book is what it is. It's probably going to be a great book, and if it fits the teacher's style of teaching, I think the kids are only going to benefit from it. So, I think that's a good choice for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. And there's 22 students today that took that AP exam 3 hours in the afternoon, which a couple of them I felt sorry for them because they took 3 hours of AP Spanish right before that, and they were allowed a 20-minute break to go grab something to eat real quick, and then came right back and started in again. So, I know his program this next year is already larger for the AP class.
And that's my question. Will this book be available next year? Because I have one taking it next year, and that might be his love language. I don't understand any of it, but he really likes that. And then just another, if you could add a little more information about the parent science teacher, Aaron Covington. Isn't he a parent of 2 Carson High students?
Yeah, I don't know his daughter very well. Gabe, I had in my class, and him and Mr. Bean has worked together on a number of different things, and they have a good relationship, and so that's why Mr. Bean recommends him for all of his courses that he has. And then on the textbook, everything that I understand we should be ready for next year.
Where is he a science teacher? Just for the information.
Oh, I believe he's up at UNR.
Okay. Just I wanted that on the record that.
Yeah. Ava, yes, Ava is the daughter. I have her face in my brain, but no name.
Okay, if there's no other comments or questions, this is an actionable item or action item, so I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees approve the recommended 2018 Advanced Placement AP Physics material adoption as proposed by the Committee for the Carson City School District in an amount not to exceed $13,200 as budgeted, as presented this evening.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Sue and Rod.
I just want to add for Trustee Crossman that physics isn't scary. It's the first math class that takes all the math you spent for 12 years learning and actually tells you what you can do with it.
Yeah. Physics was fun.
English, I'm great with. Writing, yeah, I'll do that.
Going on to agenda item number 10, informational update on the CCSD tentative budget for fiscal year 2018-19. For discussion only, and AJ,
I loved physics.
have a good time.
Good evening, Mr. President, trustees, AJ Fielding for the record. I was hoping to come to you with some significant movement on the budget tonight, and there has been some, but it tends to be in both directions, unfortunately. So, but just an update, a quick update on where things stand. So there, as was mentioned in the presentation on the April 10th, there are many new positions that are being added to the district, specifically in the teaching ranks. Bordewick Bray will be adding 2 positions, one at Fritch, an ESL and 2 grade level positions at Fremont, 4 teachers at Carson Middle School, an upgrade of a dean at Carson Middle School, 4 teachers at Carson High School. There was an addition there. The NJROTC program has grown so much. They're expecting well over 300 kids to be in the program next year. So one of the nice things about that program is the teaching staff for that, the Navy, as long as they approve it, as Commander Meyer and Chief Ingram will say, Big Navy. If Big Navy approves, they will reimburse about half the cost of that teacher. So if they will do that, we will be hiring a 3rd to help their program. They're very excited about that. And then also at Carson High, a distance education assistant. So as the online programming has grown dramatically in the district, and especially at Carson High School, just in the last couple of years, they need some more support there. So that's the growth in staffing.
So, Mr. Fielding, so these are new positions, not replacement positions?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, are those necessitated because of anticipated student growth or student growth that we already have this year?
For the most part, so the ones at the elementary level are, what I do generally is just kind of look at one class, I call it survival, how they survive from one year to the next historically. So when you look at the elementary level, because of class size ratios, going from 25 in kindergarten to 22, 22, 22, then back up to 25 in 4th grade and 5th grade, that tends to create some just situations where all of a sudden you're going to need a teacher and then all of a sudden you don't, but then because there's not so much flexibility given with those numbers, even if it looks like they're going to be over by, say 5 to 10%, we have to start considering that. So the ones are at this point that we're looking at are the ones where very obviously they're going to need some extra support in the school. Bordewick, I believe, it's in 5th and 4th grade. Fritch, I want to say is 4th grade. I can't remember off the top of my head. But Fremont is especially because of just the change in grade levels and the way that worked out for them. So Carson, at the high school level, as you know, this year there was a large bump at the secondary level with students Carson Middle taking on almost 90 kids. Carson High took on about 40. And so this last year, that was managed through some long-term substitutes and some prep buyouts across the board in all those schools. So we're trying to, that was kind of the reaction to take care of it at that time. But now, not being the ideal situation, we're trying to see what is necessary, and those are the numbers that are coming out, be necessary as much as possible to avoid the prep buyout situation, and have enough staff to actually manage the scheduling that's necessary in those schools. So it's interesting to see this change happen so quickly. There is, unlike Washoe, where they get into the fall and they see their numbers and they may start moving or laying off people, immediately based upon numbers. Try to do our best to look at that now ahead of time. And again, the ones that are very obvious situations that you can see that teacher by statute or just by sheer numbers is needed. Try to place that now ahead of time. So outside of staffing, or I guess related to staffing, the number of retirees that we've had so far, we're expecting so far about $300,000 in savings there. So that helps offset some of those new teacher costs. Tech replacement, the number I'd given you previously was $775,000 for replacing instructional technology in the district. For next year, Raymond Medeiros, who I don't like to speak well of, but he's done a really nice job for me on this. He's identified specifically some teacher laptops that we're looking to replace next year. He's found some savings there for us, actually, what seems to be a better machine overall. So we're pretty excited with some of the new screens they have in the rooms and having the ability of our teaching staff to these laptops that flip over and become a tablet, and they can just walk around the room and right up on the screen, all the kids can see what they're doing. So it's pretty exciting to see what they can do there. And but anyway, Raymond's done a great job with trying to help me out as much as possible on that. Special education continues to be a concern. I've been have ongoing meetings with Jan Albertson, our director of special education, trying to see if there's more we can do to try to reduce costs there and reduce that transfer that we make from the general fund. So at the meeting in April, including the $1 million in curriculum, the deficit I had right around $2.2 million. Right now I have it at about 2.1, so it's a little better, but still a work in progress trying to whittle that down. Normally I wouldn't necessarily give you this update until the board meeting right before the budget hearing, but as you know, you have a board meeting on May 22nd and the budget hearing on the 23rd, and I didn't think that quite enough time for you to process or ask questions if that comes up. So that's all I have at the moment. Continue to have a couple weeks here to work on this, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Would it be possible to get a list of those additional positions? I mean, I'm not going to remember all those, but I think it'd be useful to kind of look at and kind of have in the back of my mind.
Yeah, I can email those out.
Like 6 months ago, the Nevada Health Centers were talking about they were having some financial problems. Have we had any discussion with them, with our health-based center, school-based health center?
I can respond to that. I remember that newspaper article, and I believe what had happened is that was about the time that the federal government was making some decisions about their budget, and I believe that it was a cash flow issue. They hadn't received their new allocation for that year, so I don't believe they're actually in financial trouble. It was just that they had not received, kind of like how the federal government will close down because their cash flow is not up to par. So as far as our relationship with them, still strong. In fact, we have our quarterly meeting coming up next week, and we also have a discussion, a meeting actually that will discuss the issue of Medicaid and how they might be able to assist us with the social workers benefits. So, yeah, we're still strong partners, and there's a lot going on, and I think they're as strong and as viable as always.
That's good, because I used it, and it was amazing, that stuff over there. And they couldn't fit me in, and they sent me over to the main office, and they got me right in. So I was just really impressed, and it seems really nice way to do it.
And Mr. Stokes, I'm glad you brought up the social workers and the benefits. We're still working on that, and we want to make that a note at the final budget meeting. And I say that after going to this, again, the NASB safety meeting and talking with people in the room and the presenters, the importance of social workers going forward. I mean, it's the time we live in, and it's not to be discounted in any way. And so whatever we do, we'll make note of we're not giving up on benefits for social workers. And when we go for the future agenda items, when we have the safety meeting, we'll have the social workers present what they've actually done for students and families. So it'll be part of that final discussion.
Have we looked at substitute pay, since we're having such a hard time? Have we looked at that? I know we've discussed it earlier, but.
So, yeah, we've actually done some digging on it. So, just a little history. 2 years ago, we raised the substitute pay, or well, not this current school year, it was the previous school year. It was $90 a day for just regular daily subs, and it went up to $100. Long-term subs, I believe, went from $120 to about $130. Now it's at. And so we were talking about that as, you know, competitively, how are we doing locally, looking at other school districts, and we actually with those numbers are still on the upper end of sub pay. So if I can remember all these, Story County, just for daily rate, was the highest at 105, and so we're paying 100. I believe Douglas was at 99. I believe Washoe was at like 96. It was kind of an off number. One unique thing that, and I can't think of the long-term rates right now, but one thing that just stood out as unique is in Lyon, I believe it was Lyon County, they do offer increased rates for subs that have various certification levels, or if they actually are a certified teacher, they would get paid more. And so we were actually talking about this recently. I want to follow up with my counterpart out there and see, because I believe when we looked at it 2 years ago, that was not in place as far as I know. So to follow up with him and see if that has made a difference. I think the reality, and I was just having a conversation with my wife about this, my kids at Seeliger, and talking about lack of subs, and just this, I sent her a 200-page PDF I received a couple months ago about the nationwide shortage of teachers and what's happening with supply and demand, and it just seems like a problem that I don't know that we can kind of offer pay to get out of, but at the same time, it's certainly worth taking a look and seeing if that is helping Lyon at all, then maybe that would help us too.
Yeah, Churchill has that same thing. I think it's $150 if you're a certified teacher.
Oh, maybe it is. Okay.
So
maybe it was just Churchill, or maybe it's both. But yeah, we're researching some further. Yep.
Good. Any other questions, comments? Thank you, AJ.
All right. Thank you.
We'll see you soon. Okay, agenda item 11, approval of the consent agenda. Possible action?
I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comments from the audience?
No, but comment from me. I have a pecuniary interest in item A, and I will not be voting on this item.
So noted. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And one abstention. to agenda item number 13, informational items for discussion only. And I will just make note of a couple. Tomorrow night is the OCEA awards banquet. May 16th, a week from tomorrow, will be the Community PLC to keep going on the strategic plan and the good things going there. And then we have what AJ just mentioned on Wednesday, the 23rd at 2:15 in the district office, the budget hearing.
With pizza.
Any other comments on the
5:15.
informational?
Yeah, not 5:30. Don't
Yeah,
make that
5:15. Moving on to agenda item number 14, request for future agenda topics. And again, I'll just restate the safety with the social workers. What NASB presented, we need to follow up on that. It wasn't just, for discussion, so.
Well, and just a comment on this, if we're going to have an agenda item on school safety, I think it should include something in addition to the social workers, maybe an update on our buildings, where we're at on that, maybe something with the school nurses, some of the things that might be, I'm sure if you talk with Ann Sear, that'll help
Well,
you.
since you and
You did it, I'm sorry.
Well, since you and Stacy, on the NASB, or in the NASB board, and we've got our NASB president, could we take that agenda that was presented, for the 2 days, and find out where we are in each one of those sessions that were presented?
Okay. I can put that
Okay.
together.
Mr. President, since I missed that meeting, could you send me a copy of what that agenda looks like? Thank you.
I was just going to mention, and I'm not sure if it's most appropriate to do it in public forum, closed session, or just a private meeting, but in light of the concern that was brought up today during public comments, maybe just a follow-up on what is the follow-up to that, to what's going on,
Or what our policy is now.
And also, I was going to mention that, the follow-up on what, if anything, is being done regarding the complaint and what is our current policy.
And that's what I was going to ask also. I mean, I remember last year we updated the policy, but this is a second kind of sports parent dispute that I've heard of this year. So I think that maybe we need to look at that and see that the process is fair to employees and parents, because parents get pretty passionate about this as their students do, and I think we want to make sure that all sides of these issues are fairly represented.
Yeah.
Okay, seeing none, without objection, we are adjourned.
Joe objects.